Do you have an opinion about this amount of cleavage showing, or would you like
Oh,
me to be more like this?
no. I think a little bit of cleavage gets you more viewers.
I mean, this boomer needs all the help she can get.
Yeah.
Well, hello there. I am Cool Gray, and you're listening to Cool Gray in Studio A. Welcome to the podcast. This is the first episode, episode 1. You are in the lobby of this building. And if you're with me from the very beginning, I want you to know that I'm very grateful and you will have a special place in my heart forever. I think I have some pretty interesting things planned for you coming up, so stick around. Pretty sure I can entertain you. Since we're just getting to know each other, I'm going to spend a little time in this episode just telling you what in the heck is going on here. Why am I podcasting? What am I going to be talking about? What can you expect? Well, you've already figured out that I'm a goofball. How do you know this? Well, that cold open, for one thing, that was my husband and me figuring out the whole recording on Zoom thing. I made it through an entire pandemic without really ever having to get on Zoom. So we were just playing around with that. And clearly we have a very successful marriage. And now we know exactly how much cleavage is appropriate. There will be goofy moments like that, unlike this one. But we are also going to talk about some serious things and some deep things and some shallow things. Basically, all the things in the world and a few things out of this world that I find fascinating, that I find inspiring, that motivate me toward creative expression, which for me is really what this is all about. I honestly believe that every single one of us has it hardwired into us to create, whatever that looks like for you. It might look like it does for me, which is making art or cooking, like I've been doing on my YouTube channel for the last 6 years or so. Those are both forms of creative expression. And I try to think creatively about pretty much everything that I am doing. And I think that's honestly written into our DNA. So for you, creative expression might look like creating a family or building a house or whatever. I just really think it's a fundamental part of us. And so the podcast is designed to light up your mind with interesting, engaging conversations with people who are talking about a wide variety of things that'll just get you thinking and hopefully inspire some form of creative expression in one way or another. So I'm glad you're here. The YouTube channel was started as a result of coming out of a very dark and traumatic period in my life. It was my way of rejoining the world after being pretty cocooned for an extended period of time. My way of engaging and being a more authentic, creatively expressive version of myself. This podcast was born out of yet another trauma, a recent one that I'm really only now just catching my breath from. So to say the least, I'm noticing a very interesting pattern in myself. And I don't think that's particularly a bad thing. I want to bring you along on this journey with me. First of all, because, it's always more fun with company. Secondly, because I am hoping that as we go on this journey together, you will find inspiration for your own creative expression, as well as watch me be living proof and therefore demonstrate to you that you can be living proof that good, authentic, creative living can come out of some of our toughest times. That's genuinely in my heart. So it seemed only appropriate to me that the very first series I would bring you would address this head on. The next 5 episodes are part of a series that I'm calling Creativity Born of Trauma. I have some guests that will be joining me that, like me, have come through some difficult times and have found their way back to a better place through one form of creative expression or another. So they'll be telling you their stories, and you'll probably learn a little bit more about mine in those processes, since I like to keep our conversations interactive, casual, and intimate at the same time. Once we have finished that series, there's another one coming your way right on its heels. And that one, I've got some guests coming to share with you their personal paranormal experiences. So whatever your feelings are about the particular subject area, I want you to see this is going to be a pretty varied podcast in terms of subject matter. Because why? Well, I want to talk about all the things that fascinate me, all the things that inspire me, all the things that I wonder about, and I'm pretty sure you wonder about too. So we're going to keep it varied. We're going to keep it casual. And we're going to keep it intimate. I hope that somewhere in there, you're going to find something you can sink your creative teeth into. And I always welcome your feedback. Now that you know what's coming up for the first 2 series, which will take us into 2023, why don't you just go ahead and subscribe, like right now, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you can't find a place to subscribe, then I would invite you to just join me over at coolgraystudios.com, where you can find my YouTube channel, my blog, my social media, anywhere else that you want to find and follow me. And then you won't miss a single episode coming up. Okay. This is the official break in the episode where I am going to talk to you about a little bit of business. And that business is a beautiful thing called Patreon. If you're not familiar with Patreon, it's another social media platform where you can support artists of various kinds who are creating things on their own. So my Patreon is a way for you to support what I'm doing here in the podcast and also on the YouTube channel, where I will be bringing more videos going forward and also always audio versions of this podcast. It is really honestly not about the money for me, but there is a financial investment involved in bringing you this podcast. And honestly, I'm just trying to cover those costs. So if you like what you hear and you would like to be a part of that community, it really isn't just about forking over your dough. There are perks, people. Perks. What am I talking about? Well, there will be audio-only mini-sodes coming your way. Those are going to be much more personal. It's me sharing little nuggets of wisdom and insanity that come out of my brain on whatever happens to be going through it on any given day. There'll be short little snippets that are only going to be available to certain tiers of Patreon supporters. So there's that. You will get an opportunity to offer feedback and suggestions about what you'd like me to make those minisodes about. You will get shout outs on this program. And having said that, I would like to shout out to you, my very first 2 Patreon supporters who are people that I love dearly. They wanted to support me and encourage me before I could even press record. And for that, I just love them. So shout out, as promised, to Jill R. and Pat L. You know who you are. And now everybody does. Thank you. If you'd like to join them, just head over to patreon.com. Find me under Cool Gray Studios. And there is a link in the show notes that will help you find me there as well. Okay. End of panhandling. Hate to call it that. It's actually a very worthy thing. While you're over there, you might even find more podcasts that you follow, more creators that you enjoy. Get over there, look around, see what's going on, find exclusive content that you won't be able to find anywhere else, and support art. Be a patron. So in our last few minutes, I'd love to talk a little bit more about what's going on over at the YouTube channel. It's been sort of sitting there for a few years, basically a pandemic. I had to step away from making videos about 4 years ago so that I could focus on some closer to home matters. So what you'll see there are legacy videos. The playlists are divided into studios. Studio A is this podcast, where you'll find audio versions of this podcast every single time. I'm bringing you this first episode as a full video version. That will not always be the case unless you join me over on Patreon. But there will be audio versions posted in the Studio A playlist over at YouTube. Studio B are my art videos. And if you are watching this on video, you can see that my art studio is right behind me. Studio B. My podcast studio, well, it's right in front of me, Studio A. But don't be fooled. They are definitely 2 completely different studios. Studio C is my kitchen. That's where I creatively express myself in the form of cooking. So you will find some tried and true family favorites, some experiments. In the art studio, you'll find spectacular failures and amazing successes. Mostly it's me experimenting in both cases and creating things that I hope you will enjoy, whether they are things you'd want to hang on your wall or put in your mouth or not. I could be making this podcast for my own amusement more than anything else, but don't tell anybody, okay? And it won't always be a goofball. I will frequently be a goofball. Listen, it's about living out loud and inviting you to be a part of that. I hope you wanna. So if you hop on over to the YouTube channel, you can take a look at, I don't know, maybe 40 or so videos over there that were made a few years ago, but they still do enjoy regular traffic and regular comments, and I invite you to catch up and get to know me better. If you can't get enough of me on video, that's the way to do it. So I'm going to end every episode with a little nugget of wisdom, a parting thought, if you will. And that could be anything. It might be a little reading. It might be a poem. It might be a story. Or my favorite, it might be a random 70s or 80s song lyric. Because in my opinion, that simply needs to live on for all eternity. And today, that's what I'm bringing you. So please remember this as you go forward with your day. If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alarmed. It's just a spring clean for the May Queen. Thanks for listening. Come on back. This is Cool Gray saying see you next time. Cool Gray in Studio A is a fine-tuned services production. It exists for entertainment purposes and is not intended to be used as a sole source of information or advice on any subject. Find and follow this podcast at coolgraystudios.com.